Development and Planning. If you all please rise and we'll pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all here. Looks like there is a distinguished gentleman of the press here. Welcome. Why don't we get started here? I'll look for a motion for the minutes from last month.
I make that motion.
Thank you, sir. A second. I appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. I also want to note that Legislator Schott and Legislator Rehill have both been excused for today's meeting. All right. Let's jump right into resolutions of the day. First one here is from our Community Development Office. Director Turner, I saw you over there, sir. If you wanted to give us a little, I think they run together, but if you want to give us a quick rundown on that, it'd be great.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chairman. First one is related to our first quarter payments for 5311 operating assistance funds. We received this is for second quarter actually. We received $212,782.87. This is higher than what we had reported as actual expenses for that period. If you recall, second quarter of this year was the main COVID period. Everything was shut down. So we didn't have a lot of miles, we didn't have a lot of ridership, we weren't running any routes. We were doing some call-in service and taking people where we could when they needed it. The state gave us some extra money, recognizing that there's still operating expenses. They based it on a formula that was from previous years. In previous years, our partner OCO had some extra routes that they don't run anymore. So the numbers came back pretty high, but our proposal is to give them all this extra funds that the state gave us in order to keep them whole. They still have operating expenses and things, salaries, heat, lights, all those things it takes to keep your facility going. So this is a second quarter payment, and we are recommending that we give it all to OCO.
Thank you. Any
I'm
questions?
not saying that this is a practice that we're going to propose in the future. If there's continued, what I'm going to call bonus dollars, we may opt to take those for other things. If you remember the first quarter payment, we asked for permission to do some marketing with the extra money. We'd like to, we have been talking about trying to use some of these extra dollars to begin the first quarter last mile program.
Mm-hmm.
So just the second quarter is the one that we're proposing to give them the extra dollars.
All right. Any questions? No. I have a couple questions. The first one is, are we allowed, if we were to keep this money, the extra, the overage, is that something that we could save towards a future period, or is that required to be spent during the year?
Well, first we have to get permission from the state to use them for alternative purpose, and it had to be transit related, and there'd be some expectation of a reasonable time period that we would expect.
Okay. I guess the reasoning is if everything is based on the previous year, then my assumption is next year will be based on the actual ridership of this year, which we just got done talking about being very low. So if we were able to put a little bit in savings to prepare for that next year, would that make sense?
Well, if we don't go back into a shutdown of the economy, my guess is at some point we'll get back to the place where we're basing it all on miles and ridership.
Understood.
So I don't think they're going to continue this bonus allocation in the distant future.
So historically, it has not been based on the previous year. That lag is only now because they understood that the ridership was actually down?
Yeah, so they tried to put a plan together that would help keep transit agencies whole during the shutdown period, and instead of using the actual miles and ridership, they did use actual miles and ridership, calculated that, paid you what it normally would get, and then looked at the previous year to try to come to a level where it was something similar that you would have had under normal operating times.
Okay, that sounds good. And we are not contractually required to provide that overage. We just understanding the partnership and the value of it and the cost that they've still borne, it makes sense you're saying to, at least for this quarter, transfer the entirety of it. Okay.
First quarter, there wasn't really a COVID impact except for the last week or two of the first period. And that's why we decided that we would take that bonus money and use it for the new marketing program to try to bring ridership up in the future.
Okay. Did we, speaking of that first quarter plan, did we end up seeing a increase in ridership because of that marketing?
We haven't done it yet.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we have the money to do it, we just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and quite frankly, we're still waiting for the state to authorize us to use that money in that fashion.
Understood. Okay. That sounds great. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'll look for a motion. Mel, thank you. Second?
Second.
Morris, thank you. All right. Any further questions? If not, I'll look for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, wonderful. Thank you. We'll jump down to the next one, which is EP2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is operating assistance capital funds, and we're asking again for the authorization to accept and disperse those funds.
And Dave, is this for the same purpose as the previous? This is 170. The first one was 212. Is this
So the first is operating assistance based on your use throughout the day for continuing your operation. Second is capital money to do things like buy another van, fix the garage, put in a new lift, whatever, capital expenses. And frankly, there's other things with capital money we can do other than direct.
Is it capital or is it VCT money?
It is ACT.
So ACT is money that can be used, it has to have a 10-year lifespan, and you can put whatever you want on it for public transit purposes, exactly what you said, which is a lift. You don't use the big buses. So a lift, anything that has a 10-year lifespan on it. Those monies are given to the counties based on the number of snow miles that are snow as state transportation operating assistance is given.
sounds good? And that's all pass-through money, correct? Is there any local share for that?
There is local share, it's 50%, and in this case, the state has found another source that we can use to match that with. So technically, while it's labeled as local share, there's not any actual contribution from us or OCO. So we're gonna use another state fund to match this.
That's great. Thanks, Dave. All right. Look for a resolution.
Question.
Oh, look for a motion.
Weren't we gonna be looking for smaller buses?
Yes, we made an application to the state earlier this year, asking for a waiver to be able to use vans, I'll call them, that could be more efficient in our operation. And we still have not received a response to that. We've asked a second time, reminded them that we sent that in, and we still don't have a response.
And now this money could be used for those?
I think it could be used for those, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
Not ATC money.
Not ATC for a vehicle?
No.
Okay.
So the only thing that ATC money can be used for vehicles if you get what's considered a Lot K, which is a 28-passenger bus, you can use ATC money for the 10% local share.
Okay.
So not the full expense, but the local share portion could come out of this. And we're not looking at any 28-passenger vehicles in the near future, so.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, let me look for a motion on that. Mel, thank you. Second. Paul, thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Any other questions? Oh, Ed, go ahead.
So, might I understand that the Seward County Opportunities has the discretion of where these funds get spent on?
They can make suggestions to us as to what's needed to continue the operation, and then it's up to us to concur and
Control station with you.
yeah, so the county still has to make the final application to the state on an approved project. The state has to sign off on the project, and then the money comes back to us and we would reimburse.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, wonderful. I will look for a vote then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Wonderful, thank you. All right, let's jump through here to, why don't we go right to, we got some guests here today. Dave, do you mind if I start with our guests here from BTC?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, I want to welcome Frank and Mondi here. Thank you so much for joining us. I look forward to an update from you folks on our volunteer transportation. I know this is something we've, as a legislature, been very interested in over the last at least 4 or 5 years. We've seen the real need. We have such a rural county, and it is exciting to have folks like you who have the expertise and how to handle that can partner with the folks that we have on staff here for our community development office. So again, I want to welcome you and thank you for being here. And the floor is yours. And feel free to speak wherever you feel most
We
comfortable.
have a PowerPoint.
Perfect. Come on up.
Good. We okay taking the mask off here?
Yeah, as long as you feel comfortable.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Frank. This is Monty.
Hi, Flynn.
Monty is Oswego County's your mobility manager. I'm the regional mobility manager for St. Lawrence County, Oswego County, City of Watertown, and Jefferson County. Today we're going to talk to you on what mobility management has done here. And we can talk a little bit about what VTC is, Tim, if you'd like. So we're going to get started right now with the presentation.
Frank, I'm gonna go grab these. Does everyone have a copy of this at all? Yeah, I know you have.
I'll take another. Yeah, back just You good?
Thank you, sir.
So based on the contract that mobility had with the county, just wanted to make everybody aware of what our deliverables are. So we want to increase the availability of transportation options, improve the delivery of transportation services, and so on and so on. We want to make visible improvements to the effectiveness and sustainability to make sure that transportation barriers with Oswego County residents have been taken down with one main purpose. That purpose is to provide transportation for all, to give everyone access. And that's what we're going to be focusing on this year and future years, of getting access to Oswego County residents. So we have some ideas of how we're going to do that. We're going to break it down into short-term and long-term goals. One of the main focuses that DOT, one of the many that DOT wanted us to focus on, is updating the coordinated transportation plan, which is a requirement every 2 to 3 years. So that'll be one of Monty's focuses moving forward. So you're probably wondering, you've been here since January. You were hired in January. We hired Monty the last week of February, and then COVID hit, and I blame him for that. So Monty came right in right when COVID hit and has done an exceptional job. So the first point I want to make is, prior to us being hired here, I went down and had a meeting with New York State DOT down in Albany to figure out, what's needed here, what is the expectation from them. So one of the key goals was to make the county whole. The county was owed money since 2013, I believe. In Dave's office was a workhorse, Deanna. And Deanna and I sat down. Deanna did all the work, but I pointed her in the right direction. We sat, we figured it all out. We made sure everything got back. So we were able to recoup $380,000 for the county. And I believe that was in the month of March. Is that when Deanna left? So first month mobility management being in, we recouped the money. We're up to 2017. In New York State DOT mines, that's current because as you all know, the state takes some time. So spring term, we'll start looking at 2017-18, see if the state is ready to relinquish the funds, what projects you have, and then move forward. The short-term goal that Monty's been working on, we did surveys. First survey we did was to human service agencies. We're in the process of doing employers. We're hoping we get more. It's been very low, so we're going out and trying to encourage employers to get those surveys back. The third survey is going to be ridership. Monty's going to be riding the buses, talking to riders, getting feedback from riders on what they need. The other short-term goal is the county was awarded $2.9 million, I believe, for the CARES Act. So we're working with Dave and his team, Donna. We came up with a plan A and B on how to spend that money. We want to make sure first the county's whole, the third-party vendors whole, and then we have some ideas on what could possibly be used. So we talked a little bit about first mile, last mile, so I'm going to give it to you in a nutshell. First mile, last mile is a person is picked up at their home, brought to the nearest bus stop. That bus stop in this county could either be Centro's bus or the Oswego County Public Transit bus. They're brought to that bus stop at no charge. They get on the bus, pay the bus fare, do their business, get back on the bus, and then the bus that they're on, the closest bus stop to their house, they get off, and then a vendor will be there to pick them up and bring them directly home. So places like Richland, Williamstown, that is very rural in Oswego County, this is going to benefit them. And what this program will do, because we've done it in other counties, it's going to get people access to employment, education, food source, and services. So no longer will be, I'm too far out, I can't get to a bus stop, I don't have transportation. This program will hopefully assist. I worked with Mr. Turner. New York State DOT wanted an updated contract and an RFP. The contract that you currently have, it has been since 1981. So Mr. Turner and I have been working, we have a draft, and hopefully by the end of December the county will be able to get that out and then get in compliance with New York State DOT. So I'll let Monty talk a little bit about what he's done with his marketing so far. I guess I went through a little bit, didn't I? I'm sorry, brother. Go ahead.
I've known Frank for a while, so we're okay. Couple things, I'm gonna just hit on a couple of points that he previously talked about. With the surveys that's out there, and right now with the employment one, Oswego County Workforce is helping us to hit some employers to get some feedback back, again, getting people to their jobs and employees home. I have been riding the buses, Centro and OPT, Oswego Public Transit, and talking to some employers. So, because some things that may seem a little bit simple, we can get you on a bus that will get you to a job. And when we had our discussions with Central, they said that's fine. One of the problems they've had in creating some routes, and I'm just going to use Novellis as an example, we can get them there, but then in 2 weeks, because of that job, and it pays pretty well, they no longer need the bus service. And so when we talk to the employer, kind of getting information and talking to the bus companies, also the transportation companies, and getting information, All that information is gonna go into when we sit down and make a coordinated plan. I've written some of the routes and where they're going, the neighborhoods that they're in. I have talked to people in Williamstown, and that first mile, last mile will be a godsend for some folks. And I just wanna go in a little bit more, in getting you to the bus, it's gonna get you to the bus that's gonna get you to employment. So the closest bus to your house may not be the one that's gonna get you to the employment. So again, those are things you're trying to work out, and looking at the buses, talking to human service agencies and where their clientele has to go, talking to employers. And it's not just the employers, the Novellos, McKinsey, Childs of the world, but local employers, the McDonald's, the Wendy's, have part-time employees that again, that need transportation there, looking at the senior centers and having a dialogue with the Office of the Aging and the centers and going by there. And again, Frank makes a good point of the bus is for everyone. And that's what we're gonna try to explain. You know, anyone who wants to take the bus, it's a great system, fairly inexpensive, and again, we can get you from point A to point B. So the coordinated plan between the surveys, the ridership surveys, I want to say in October, November, it'll be out there. It'll be out there with me when I'm on there. We'll also be giving it to human service agencies that their clientele use the buses, that we can get some feedback from them. And then just to sit down and look, we've met with, as I said, Centro. We met with Golden Bus. We met with Cedar. We're going to meet with OCO this Friday. Just kind of what they do, where they're going now, routes. And again, when we come back later in December and January to sit down about new routes, making some adjustments and making some recommendations, what's going to make sense for everyone, you know, not just the transportation companies. So I will say, if you need me, if you got a question for me, please call. I have my cards. I will leave them here, but please call because it is interesting. There are a lot of stories out there, and the transportation is huge. Especially, I've talked to a lot of seniors and what they do and their need for transportation. And so, again, that plan, and whenever we produce it for the spring, will be critical. And your feedback or input is always wanted and needed, and I'll always listen to it. Question?
Yes, do you have the ability to handle wheelchairs or stuff like that? Is that part of it
Yes.
in your buses and so on?
So they're not our buses.
Well,
So the third-party vendor that you use for public transit are all ADA compliant. So they have the ramps that pick people up, and so they're all ADA compliant for people with wheelchairs, even people with walkers that can't climb steps. They can use the lift to get up to the bus.
because we have multiple facilities in the county
Yes.
that can use this kind of systems.
I found that.
So we're going to talk about some long-term goals.
Actually, got a good question from
sure.
Director
Just
Freeman.
want to make sure that we answered Morris's question. Morris, were you asking about our bus service or the first mile, last mile piece where we're getting people from their home to the existing route? Are those
I guess I was looking at
providers also going to be able to handle wheelchair folks and other handicap needs?
because I guess I'm concerned about people, let's say St. Luke's facilities and so on like that have these type of people there. And there are, you know, even Sunny Hill to some degree, but that's,
Yeah, a lot of those places have their own transportation system or vehicles. You know, we do have some connection with them, but most of them take care of their own internally.
Ed.
Yeah, what kind of hurdles are you running into, particularly with employers and their business work schedules versus coordinating, getting that person to work at 7 or 8?
So right now the data is limited. The survey went out, we had very limited, so we're pushing more to have people help us and assist us with getting the survey out. We know there's going to be shift work. We also know that we're not going to be able to hit all. It's just not it won't be efficient and sustainable if we're able to do that. We will have those shifts, we'll figure out where people need to go, and we'll start experimenting hopefully in 2021 of finding routes that hit those employers and the shifts that they need filled. And then hopefully, eventually in a year to 2 years, have a system developed that's meeting the needs.
And those are the questions on the survey, because we don't, I mean, we have information already. I don't want to assume now it's your business and what your barriers are for your employees, what you think. So probably that's the biggest one, getting information back from them.
So sorry, that was off.
We know the shift, you know, how many shifts there, what time they start, what time they end. And again, where they're at. Some of them are off the beaten path a little bit. Again, trying to take that into account. Some of it is seasonal, we know, with some employers, and so with Mackenzie Childs, big push from November to end of January to hire new staff. So is that something, again, we can work with transportation companies to get out there? And then from February on, you know, what do you do with that route? And so then again, that's a conversation we're trying to have. And again, the more employers that we can get some input on, the greater it will be.
That's good. David.
Yeah, just to expand on that a little bit, it's always been a hurdle for employment. If you have a job that's, let's say you're on 4 to midnight shift and you don't have transportation of your own, it's not a problem for us to get you there at 4 o'clock.
You know,
More often than not, but getting you home at midnight is where, you know, the system breaks down. And quite frankly, you know, until you get to a point where you have a whole group of people in the same place of employment, all going to relatively the same area of the county. So you have, you know, 8 people who are in the northeast part of the county. That's one thing, but if you've got one guy in Williamstown and one guy in Hannibal and one guy in Phoenix that all get out at midnight, we can't run a bus line to service 3 people in the middle of the night. We just can't afford to go 24/7 at this point. So that's going to remain a hurdle for us for the short term at least.
you can use the same model for BOCES or students at CCC. They're getting out. Their field placement, lack of a better word, ends at 10, or they're at CCC, class gets out at 9:30 or 10. And again, we can get them there, but they're right home, and they don't have a ride home. And so I've talked with them now, trying to figure out how to get them to a bus to get there, and we're working on some different plans for them that are affordable for them to get home.
The other piece out there to address what Dave was talking about, Enterprise Commute has a program where they work with employers that do that late night shift and coordinate transportation, those late night shifts with the employees. And there's some real benefits to it. I know the person that was in the position has since left it, but I will reconnect to find out who that person is and bring that person back into Oswego County to talk more about it. They have a really unique program where they'll meet with an employer and the employees. They'll give the vehicle for a charge, and then they break it down on how many employees are in a certain area. And it's like carpooling with an enterprise vehicle. So that might solve the solution because that's more efficient than running a full bus.
Have you folks had any interaction with Oswego Health? They were awarded some funds to do a van share program through ESPRI funding about maybe 2 years ago now. I don't know if you've talked to anybody over there.
We haven't, but thank you for telling us how. We will meet with them.
Yeah, that it was a pilot program that they were hoping to kind of see how that would work. They have a lot of low to moderate income employees there and shift work as well. And there was a plan to put in like a van. In fact, the ESPRI funding purchased the van, is my understanding. So just to be, again, they're one of the larger employers of folks who probably do need transportation throughout the county. So, and you know, if something like that were to work, maybe with a partnership with Enterprise, there's a way to roll that out other ways. So,
Mackenzie Childs used the Enterprise for a while. it was great for a month and a half. And then again, the employees, they stayed employed, they were able to purchase a car, so now the four of us that were riding, I got a car, I'm gonna pick up him 3 weeks later, we were able to buy a car. So again, it's that timing and looking, because those are great options to use, and we've talked to them about, using that again.
How do you work with BOCES?
I work with all.
In regard to, training, employers have training programs there and so on and so forth that, people have to get to and be trained and so on.
So we just started working with BOCES they've called me because they had 2 students who need to get to BOCES and need to get back home, 2 school districts. So we were going to work with them anyway. This kind of maybe hear some real life examples of that and how to work. The question is, again, as Dave alluded to, these 2 students need to be there by 8:30 and they end at 12:30. I had others that were going to be there in the evening and ending at 8:30 or 9 o'clock. And so it's kind of, we need to know all the times that are ending and working with BOCES and how that's going to work. And then we can sit down and look at some different routes.
Well, they have different facilities, their training facilities
Yes.
are located, as you know, all around the county.
Yes.
And I think it's good training for, people going into production by any sorts, but it's good training.
Yes, we had one set up, and then she called me. I called her Friday to make sure she was going to go to, I want to say, one of the nursing homes. Somebody had infected there, so now her training is put off. She doesn't know where she wants to go. So now we got to look at it all over again. For her week and a half, getting her from Oswego to whatever facility she needs to go to complete her certificate and her training.
Thank you.
This is great information, and I think shifting over from the short-term goals, because obviously there's a lot you need to deal with when you first get in here, but jumping into that long-term vision. I think one of the things that I'm most excited about, and we've had a lot of discussions, a lot of meetings over the last few years. This is an obvious need, and having being able to have brought somebody in who can actually spend the time, the air traffic controller, so to speak. We know there's lots of problems. We know there's a lot of need for being on top of this on a daily basis, and so I think why we're all so excited to have you be part of this with us. If you could kind of give us a little more of an idea, where do you see this going? What do you think this could look like, and how long is it going to take?
Well, if I could do that, then I played the lottery. I think I'd be on an island. COVID threw a wrench in a lot of things. We had to focus in on, once COVID hit, how are we going to get people to food source, medical, employment. So it's shifted. I can't give you a time frame, but I can give you a broad perspective. So we had a great meeting with Central. What we initially thought was buses could only go to certain areas was dispelled when we had a great meeting with Central. The hope is, moving to the future, that once this RFP comes out, contract is awarded and signed, Mobility Management and Central and the third-party vendor that's selected are going to sit down and we're going to reimagine Oswego County. And we're going to make sure to the best of our ability that it runs efficient and sustainable, and we create routes that make sense and that have ridership. Now, even though we develop the routes, it's not going to happen overnight. But I would say in the next 3 years, the goal is that we have access to all Oswego County residents to get to employment, education, food source, and services. So that's where we see it going in the future, while at the same time making sure the county is whole and that the third-party vendor is whole. We're going to be experimenting, doing some stuff with seniors, getting them out to farmers markets to use their coupons. And that's all I can give you right now.
That's great.
But hopefully we'll have some good routes planned. We'll have a good collaboration. Silos will be knocked down. Everybody will be working towards that common goal of having Oswego County residents have access to all.
That's great information. I want to thank you again for coming. I don't know, is there anything else that, if you wanted to get something out to the public, if there's something you need from them, if there's something that the distinguished gentleman from the newspaper here could help you get out there, what would it be? Is it that you want feedback? Is it that you, you know, give us a little pitch here on what the average person would need to hear from you?
So you want the 2-minute elevator?
That's what I want.
Sure. I think the one key point is that there is public transit in Oswego County, and it's made for all. Rich, poor, have insurance, don't have insurance. The purpose of public transit is we want to know where people need to get to and when they need to get there. Because we want to provide a better quality of life for people, to get jobs, to get access to healthy foods. That's number one. I think the second piece is there's a great opportunity for people that are looking for things to do. And the Volunteer Transportation Center is looking for volunteer drivers. They're reimbursed, they're not paid because it's volunteering, but they are reimbursed at the IRS rate, which is currently 57.5 cents. Their office is located at Catholic Charities. But I think more importantly, we need employers to fill out the survey so we can know how to develop routes, what times they need them.
What issues, what barriers do they see?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And
we
we
can help
know-
them.
And we need to know from the general public, what do you need? What can we provide for you in working together? Mel will tell you, we want people to attend Transportation Advisory Committee. We need to have more stakeholders at that meeting. We need more human service agencies, we need employers at the table, and more importantly, we need residents, Oswego County residents, because that's what we're doing here.
That's wonderful.
It was longer than 2 minutes.
No, that was excellent. And actually, I was after that. Brianna, I appreciate you being here. If there's any other questions, I did want to kick it over to. We do have the chair of the Transportation Oversight Committee, Advisory Committee, whatever. I don't want to mix that up. Legislator Chesbrough, do you want to say a little bit as well from kind of what you've seen and, or see if you have any other questions for these gentlemen?
Oh yeah, well, these guys are the professionals, and that's what we needed. We needed to bring into the county professionals on transportation. The county, while we've been overseeing it and we've had a third party, that's not their only hat they wear. That's why it's important. That's why we weren't whole since 2013. We need to have professionals come in. We hired them. They're doing a job. They're breaking down the silos. They're getting the information out there. They're asking people for information, and that's an information. And that's the only way these guys are going to be able to make it really succeed is for them to hear from the employees, the employers, and the residents. And I think a big stepping stone for us is the marketing of this. It is so important to get out there that Oswego has public transportation. The buses that we see out there now, the OPT ones, there's a lot of misconception as to who can ride those and what are they for. I think with getting this information out, getting a new marketing plan to really put in people's face, you need a ride, we can provide it. Oswego is here for the residents. So I'm very pleased, I'm very happy of where we're going, and I really see a great future.
Great. All right, well, gentlemen, if there's any other questions, if not, I will thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, wonderful. Let's jump right over then to Director Turner, if you'd like to give us an update or anything for the committee.
Yeah, if I can. Have a couple of handouts here. And I think I have Paul Morris, I don't know if you two got them or not. So this is an update for your comparison purposes on where we are with the census. This first sheet is as of September 17th. This is as of October 4th. And what you'll see is on the bottom, there's some light shading that shows you a comparison between 2010 census and 2020 census. And the ones at the bottom have a better response now than they did in 2010. shaded ones. So in that 2-week period, we picked up 2 more towns, Volney and Amboy. But the ones at the top, you'll see are still negative, so we're not doing as well as we did in 2010, which is not good because our response rate was 63.5% of what our believed population is. So as we've said in the past, we lose money for every person we don't count. And in the, it's a little bit of a complicated formula, but if you put those numbers together, if we're still in the 60% range, potentially there's about $400,000, or 400 million, I'm sorry, in the next decade that we would be available or potentially eligible for that we likely won't get. Now, would you ever reach 100%? Probably not. There's a belief in the census community that about 20% of the people are never going to cooperate, and you're going to get at best up to 80% of a count. Some places have done better than that, mostly large urban areas where it's easy to corral people and get them to respond and count, because you have, for example, a building manager who says, yeah, I can tell you exactly how many people live in every one of these units and things like that. But in rural areas, it's very hard, and quite frankly, that's where our low counts are mostly. Boylston, City of Fulton, Scriba, those numbers are low. City of Oswego still is lower than previous count. As of today, we're at about 62.9%, which is still lower than the 63.5 that we did in 2010. So we've got a few weeks left to go. The state did give us some money earlier to put this program together. We only had 5 weeks from the time that they gave it to us until the September 30th deadline. At that point, we had to spend 75% of that money with third-party not-profit providers. We only had one who was approved by the state that was willing to participate. So we didn't end up applying for all of the money that the state had made available to us. We still left about $20,000 on the table, because that's all that we could reasonably spend in a program in that 5-week period. We've asked for permission to access the rest of the money to do a final push over the next 3 weeks. Still haven't heard back from them, but we're hoping that they'll agree to let us do that. So I can ask only, again, that each of you could do whatever you can in your own districts to let people know that it's really important that we fill the census out. It's really easy to do, 3 to 5 minutes on the telephone and you're done. And then folks who are more technologically savvy can go to the census.gov and fill it out really quickly as well. But it's about $21,000 per person over the next decade for every person we don't count. Potentially that federal aid we lose. So do the math. If you don't count 40,000 people, that's a lot of money.
When
Any
is
questions?
the drop dead date?
October 30th.
October 30th.
So Dave,
In my belief right now, according to the federal judge in California.
that one entity that qualified was Operation Oswego County,
Oswego County Opportunities.
Oswego County Opportunity.
Yeah.
And what was their, what were the action steps that they were able to implement?
So, because we could only use 25% of the allocation, we actually took some things that we could have easily done and put it in their box. So, for example, you saw billboards around the county that had census messages on it. We could have placed that order. Actually, we did most of the work in organizing it, artwork and everything. We could have placed that order ourselves. But instead, in order to be able to use that money, we put that under their work program. They went around to all public, human service agencies, they held meetings, they distributed. We put together some small bags that had a census message on the outside, and the state said that we could give things away if they were somehow related to COVID. So we put 2 face masks and a little bottle of hand sanitizer with some census information in these bags, and we distributed 5,000 of those at various places, like the milk hand giveaways, food pantries, other events like that. We had one person who also was under a private contract, who went to all the senior living communities and gave one of those bags and talked to all those people. We can't help somebody actually fill it out. You have to be an employee of the Census Bureau to do that, but we gave them all the information they needed to do that. And OCO, in some of their efforts, they actually had a numerator that they would take with them to some of these events. And that person would then go around and help everybody who needed assistance. They had some virtual meetings on a regular basis that people could tune into and learn about the census. We ran, in cooperation with some other counties in the WCNY public television viewing area, we ran some commercials that were based on Sesame Street character, The Count, and it was geared towards stay-at-home moms and kids, and it was in Spanish and English, so we targeted that market. And then we did some farmers market activities where those exist. So I can get you a copy of their work program that spells all of that out, but
Well,
It
it's
was
interesting
pretty-
because I don't think, a lot of us probably don't know the effort that went into it. And not knowing that, I'm curious as what it's gonna take to get this next little push, if we can get another 10-15% or something.
yeah,
So if employers could help us.
I don't, I'm not sure about employers, that's,
I don't, if
we
they
could try to get some
they could
messages
help
to
us,
them,
if they could do some messaging,
yeah, right,
their payroll, or this
Right.
company meeting, and there is still a lot of people working, I'm sure they haven't filled it out.
right. We did early on send messages to employers, before, we really got shut down. We still tried to do some things that were, there was no cost associated with. Karen Noyes in my office reached out to, the religious community, and other groups that we could say, could you help us get to your constituents? And I know she did some work with employers. I can't tell you exactly what ones, but in that process between April and August, when we actually found out we could get some money, we tried to do as many things that didn't require a budget.
Okay.
We work with school districts in that same fashion. Can you help us by messaging? We know that you're communicating with your parents. Can you help us? They all cooperated. Like fire departments, can you put it on your message board? We talked to all the towns and said, can you put this on your Facebook or use your social media campaigns? The mayor put out a couple nice messages, and Fulton did some good work as well. One of your former colleagues, during that same period when we had no budget, legislator Fafalia got a hold of me and said, if you have anything, I'm happy to walk around Fulton and pass it out. So we had, we gave him like 1,000 of these brochures that we had put together. We distributed 15,000 of those throughout the county. So there was a lot of grassroots things going on, and
Are there any of those left?
we have some left, yeah.
I'll pick some up, I've got one for Fulton and Shoulder, there's a couple of spots.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
Do we have money left to spend on more?
We don't have money in the budget that we established in August, but we do have, like I said, around 20,000 that the state had allocated to us. When the announcement came that we were gonna have another 30 days, we got a hold of them and said, can we have the rest of our money? And we're still waiting for a response on that, so.
Okay. I was just wondering, did you say the schools and stuff? I'm hoping that there's even another push, because they do have, I know most of them have at least the lower grades, the kids are in school,
Right.
so they can be taking stuff home. In addition to any kind of thing virtual, but it would be great, I mean, that's a lot of aid that the schools are gonna get, so,
Yeah, schools are well aware of that,
Yeah.
and so are the human service agencies, and they've all been very cooperative
that's
so
other push
far.
though, I really think you need
Yeah.
to have, you got another, few weeks here to get the schools on board.
Right. One of the good things, and as an example, we could easily change the date. Our billboards say end September 30th. It's important, you need to get it done. So we already got a budget, we know how much it would take, how long it would take to just put a sticker over the date,
Yeah,
extension, whatever. But we don't have money for that right now, so we're really pushing the state to say yes. And then hopefully, in the interim, we would use our own money and reimburse it from that fund. But, we're in
Yeah.
tough financial time right now as well,
Sure.
so.
understandable.
All right, that's great. Thanks, Dave. Any other questions on census? Thank you, Dave.
And I just have one other handout for you. This is, I spoke very briefly at a previous meeting about our relationship with Fort Drum and the fact that we had been recognized as a safe, family-friendly place to recreate. And so I asked Janet to just put together a couple paragraphs about what that really means and what we did and what it cost us. This is just clear information, a little bit about that. Basically, we spent $1,700, but the program has been very well responded to, and the fact that Department of Defense, the United States Army, has recognized Oswego County and promotes Oswego County to all those people at Fort Drum. That's been a big help, and we've had a relationship with them for a long time. This is just an update on that for you.
That's great.
FYI.
Dave, thank you so much. We always like to see what the folks in the offices are doing, and this is exciting. So anytime we can be called safe,
Yes.
these days that's
We
a
like that.
huge benefit.
We like that word.
I've always been seen as very safe. Yes,
Yeah, I
Morris.
want to bring up a point. Fort Drum's helicopters and so on shoot, touch, and goes, and at the airport in Fulton.
Mhm.
I mean, at our airport in the county, numerous things they do.
Yep.
So that should be highlighted that they're they can do it.
That's great.
That's
Well, it's an important message too, because now, when people are thinking about where can we go, what can we do with all these restrictions and regulations and not have to quarantine or, families want to go someplace where they feel comfortable, that they can enjoy themselves and not put their family at risk.
Mhm.
And so that's now become a metric in where their calculation of how am I gonna vacation, how am I gonna recreate, where can I do that? So being recognized as a safer place to go, we've changed a lot of our other messaging as well to try to encourage folks on that grounds.
All right. Well, thank you very much. If there's nothing further, I will look for the appropriate motion. Oh, Morris.
I'd just like to bring up one point. Are you aware of the open house at the airport on Thursday? Thursday, airport, county airport will have an open house from 2 to 4 on business, and then they're also have an open house from 4 to 6. A large hangar at the airport will be opened for them to observe, and people in there to tell them different things about aircraft.
Great. My understanding is you get to fly your own plane, which is exciting too. So,
Yeah.
all right. I'll look for the appropriate motion. Motion to adjourn. Mel, second. All right, all in favor? Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.